Welcome in, everybody, for another mock draft. There's a lot of action going on. College football playoffs last night. We saw everybody's QB1, Drew Allar, play last night, and I'm pretty sure that he'll be returning back to college. We've got Deshaun Watson injury news. The draft order is set with the top 18 teams. We've got wild card weekend. I've got one of the best draft analysts in the entire space to join me for a mock today. We're going through one round, and it's really going to be a conversation. You know, this is early in the process. This individual and I, Thor Nystrom, who you'll talk to in a second, will be in Mobile at the Senior Bowl here in a few weeks and still trying to shape out this draft board. So we're going to have a conversation about all 32 picks. But without further ado, Thor Nystrom in the damn building, at ThorKU on X. Thor, how you doing, baby?
Dude, so good to see you. When I see Ray Garvin, I know it's draft season, so I'm so pumped to be here with you and to do a mock draft today.
And Thor, quickly, because you're doing so much work, but one of the things that you and I love, and are excited for, just tell the people what you got going on and the NFL Combine props that you and I are both very much looking forward to here in a few weeks.
Yeah, NFL Combine prop season is one of the great seasons for bettors because the sports books, they have no context for the guys. They don't. Sometimes it's like they're guessing on the numbers. A great example of this last year, they dropped 4.55 on Nate Wiggins as one of their mistake lines. Nate Wiggins, one of the fastest players in college football last year. So, yeah, you see mistake lines all the time, and it's a great money-making opportunity. Ray and I are going to have plenty of props for that.
Just stay tuned. That's all I'm going to say. But Thor, 2025 draft class, here we are. We're going through a one-round mock. Tennessee's at the top of the draft. Abdul Carter played last night. We got Shedeur. We got Cam Ward. What are we doing at the top of the draft? Are we getting crazy, or is this pretty chalk?
I think it's chalk. I mean, it's down to one of two guys, right? One of those two quarterbacks, whether it be Shedeur or Cam Ward. There was the early rumors that the Titans preferred Cam Ward. Those seem made up to me, seeing as though they fired their general manager a couple days after that. I don't know how you would have any sort of lean at this point between the two guys. My favorite quarterback on the board is Ray's favorite quarterback on the board, Shedeur Sanders. And because of that, I think the Titans will eventually get around to making the correct decision. I would go with Shedeur Sanders here.
Can I just sway you at all? Is there any real steam about Abdul Carter going one? And he's incredible, but can Tennessee afford to take an edge rusher at number one here?
I don't think so. Not with the quarterback need that you have. I don't think so. And I love Abdul Carter. But I love Travis Hunter, right? But, I think you, with the quarterback situation, what it is, and we have two guys in this class that can step in week one and start next year, I think you have to take one of those two guys, and that's what I would expect.
All right. At pick 2, the Cleveland Browns are on the clock, 102. A lot of needs for Cleveland. I'll just read off what PFF has. Thor and I will agree and disagree with some of the team needs that are currently on the board. But quarterback, running back, tackle, and defensive back, news broke a few hours ago that Deshaun Watson, not only was there a setback, it was the worst possible setback you can have, which is an Achilles rupture. They restructured his contract. He's not playing in 2025, Thor. Is this a spot where a quarterback goes, or can you see them potentially going in a different direction, maybe the defensive side of the ball?
First off, I want a third, fourth, and fifth opinion on Deshaun Watson's Achilles. Seems a little convenient, doesn't it? That all of a sudden Deshaun Watson, his availability for next year is in doubt when you could get rid of the albatross cap hit that you have guaranteed him, right? Because they have insurance on it. That notwithstanding, Ray, I think you would agree with this. The Browns hold the key to the entire draft. I'm pretty sure the Titans, it's a binary decision. This quarterback or that quarterback. There's only two of them. The Browns, though, it opens the whole board up. Anything can happen here. You could either see the Browns stay in place and take the other of the two quarterbacks that falls here. You could see them trade down one spot with the Giants. I think makes a lot of sense. The trade charts jive with the Giants giving up their second round pick and their fourth round pick at the top of those rounds. Or you could see them trading lower. Do they want to stay close enough where they could take a Travis Hunter or a sniff around an Abdul Carter? Or are they willing to go down and trade, say, with Vegas at 6, the Jets at 7, couple, I assume Aaron Rodgers is going to retire, a couple quarterback needy teams, but then you're going to be outside the range of those couple elite guys. In my mock draft that I put out earlier this week at Fantasy Life, I had the Browns trading down to number 3 with the Giants for that trade package that I mentioned for the second and the fourth round pick in addition to the third overall. and then the Giants moving up here to take Cam Ward.
Well, let's try to do that real quick, Thor. Let's try to do that. I have not done a bunch of mocks with trades because, the back half of the draft isn't all set because of the playoffs. So I've been drafting pretty just 1 through 32. So what are we giving up? What are we giving up to make this trade happen? So the Giants are moving up to 2, right? They're giving up.
So they give up their second round pick, which is it 33, 34, and 34? Then also their fourth round pick, the 103.
All right, let's do that. Let's see. Let's offer
or 104,
this.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. 104. Let's offer this and see if Cleveland will accept because I would like it. PFF doesn't want to make it happen. I'm going to force this trade. I don't give a damn because I know that these numbers aren't arbitrarily pulled out of nowhere. We're going to force this trade. People have been asking for trades. So right here, and can I just get your opinion, whether it's Shedeur or Ward, do you think the Giants would make this move? If Cam Ward were number 1 to Tennessee, they make this move to move up to number 2 for Shedeur.
I think the Giants would make this move right now. Because then you are in that position for the 2 quarterbacks. If the Giants don't do it, you have to have a very real fear that the Browns themselves will take him, or that the Browns are, the other quarterback, or trade with a team that will. That is my situational assumption here, that the Browns hold all the cards because they hold the key to who gets that second quarterback. And then what will the draft order be after that? So, I don't think the Giants necessarily care which of the 2 that they come out with. I'm sure they have a slight preference one way or the other. But to get one of those 2 and then not have to sign Jameis Winston this offseason to start for you next season with your front office and your coaching staff on the hot seat, I think that they would do this right now.
And I just want to put this out there. There's a lot of talk about the Giants giving up this 3rd overall pick to the Minnesota Vikings. Your Vikings, Thor. I do not think that's going to happen. I think that would be foolish of Minnesota to do that unless it was some astronomical haul. Any chance that the Vikings give up J.J. McCarthy to one of these team QB-needy teams inside the top 10 for one of their picks plus future capital?
If the Vikings trade J.J. McCarthy, I'm going with J.J. McCarthy. Ray, my house will. I'm calling my realtor that right when I get that call, and we will be putting the house on the market. Maybe I'll be moving to New York. But no, in all seriousness, no, I don't expect that to happen. I never expected that to happen. I think Kwesi, with the moves that he has made the past year and a half, he has telegraphed the path that they're going to go forward with. I think what you're going to see, if Sam Darnold plays good enough against the Rams on Monday night to keep this a viable option, is a tag and trade. You need a robust enough market out there for Sam Darnold to do the tag and trade. Last year, the Panthers traded Brian Burns to the Giants for a 2nd and a 5th round pick as one recent example of precedent. But I think that's the only quarterback trade that you might see. And we need Sam to play well on Monday to keep that possibility open.
All right, we just wanted to get that out of the way. We're not trading J.J. McCarthy. We're not doing any of that in this mock. Pick 3, Cleveland's on the clock. They move down a spot. They still get their guy. Who's it going to be, Thor? Is it Travis Hunter or is it Abdul Carter?
For me, I would go Travis Hunter here. Ray, I just think this is a prospect unlike certainly we've seen during my time covering the draft. You go back, Champ Bailey, Charles Woodson, Deion Sanders. Travis Hunter is going to play more offense than those guys, though. And the interesting question is, as a rookie, what percentage can he handle? But 40 to 50% maybe, and then you're on the field for every defensive snap. You're getting your CB1, and then you also get your wide receiver 1 on those 40 to 50% of the snaps. And I think that'll be a fascinating discussion because that's a discussion you're having more with your sports science staff and your medical staff than your coaching staff of how many snaps can the human body at this size, how many can it handle per game without the injury risk elevating beyond where we're comfortable? But yeah, for me, it would be Travis Hunter here.
I'm with you. I have commonly in my mocks had Travis Hunter even at number 2 overall. I just think that the Browns, this weird situation that they're in, I don't believe that they can fail at quarterback again. You've got to re-energize this fan base, and the player that's going to put butts in seats, get that fan base excited to really usher in the new future of the Browns, I think Travis Hunter could accomplish that. So I'm on board with you at 3. Pick 4,
and
New Orleans on the... Go ahead.
Just really quickly, one other thing with that, with Kevin Stefanski coming back, I'm pretty sure that Kirk Cousins is going to be a post-June 1 cut. Terry Fontenot right now is trying to posture like, oh, no, we could trade him, or, oh, he could come back as the backup. you can't trade him because he has a no trade clause, and he's going to do the Derek Carr thing and force the release, and they're not going to have him back as the backup. It's too awkward behind Penix. I think he's going to get cut after June 1st. Who makes the most sense in the world? The Browns. The capped out Browns and the being reunited with Kevin Stefanski, that would take care of your immediate quarterback thing. Then you can use, ostensibly this pick on Hunter. Now you would have 3 picks in the top 34 with this trade as well, and something like 6 picks in the top 105, something like that. So you have fleshed out the whole thing. And then if you can get Deshaun Watson ruled out for next season, that amount of his guaranteed money that you insured, that now opens up and you can spend that on the free market. This is the way that the Rams could become competitive immediately next year.
Bingo. Thor Nystrom freaking nails it right there. Great analysis, Thor, and I'm on board with you. New England's on the clock, pick 4. I'm not going to influence you. I feel like this is an easy pick. Everybody wants a receiver here. I don't know, Thor. What do you got at pick 4, man?
Oh, interesting. We might disagree on this one.
Okay.
This one was super easy when the Patriots were anywhere in the top 3. And Jared Mayo pulled the Lovie Smith in the last week, and you fall from 1 to 4. That offensive line is so bad. And my issue with Drake May coming out, like the times where he would glitch, as you know, it was when he was under pressure. I want a left tackle for the Patriots at this spot, right where you're boxed out of 100. Kelvin Banks for me.
Kelvin Banks, big tackle out of Texas. I've mocked Kelvin Banks to New England, I believe, twice. I had Will Campbell there once. And last week was my first time putting Abdul Carter there to the Patriots. I think Abdul Carter, he's probably the top player, at least one of the top players in this class. I could see them going defense, getting an impact guy playing in a division where you got to deal with damn Josh Allen twice a year. But I'm not going to argue tackle. And we don't really disagree. What I'm glad you didn't do is put Tet McMillan here at 4. As much as I like him, I don't know about 4 overall for McMillan, Thor. Jacksonville, they're on the clock at 5. They're on the clock at 5. A lot of team needs guard, center, D-line, cornerback. Where the Jags go with this pick?
This is an interesting one. When I was sitting down last week doing my last mock, I basically came down on this one. I'm curious where you're at, but I came down to the 2 Michigan Wolverines, right? I mean, they're the biggest needs for them, and they're the top guys on the board, in my opinion, as well. So whether it be Graham to fill that interior defensive line hole, or whether that be Will Johnson, maybe we play the Pat Mayo game here, Ray, and I'll just toss it back to you. Those would be my 2 options. If you agree, you can plug either end.
So I don't know if you were cheating or not, but for people out there, Thor and I, for the past 4 years, we do this big draft with Pat Mayo. It takes 30 hours to do it. I promise you it won't take this long to get through the show. But I just had a pre-show with Pat today, and I had the same 2 guys for Jacksonville. Yeah. Mason Graham, Will Johnson. In my opinion, Will Johnson is the best pure traditional cover corner in this class. I love Hunter's elite closing speed and ball skills, but don't get it twisted. Will Johnson is a prototype cornerback. I'm going to take Will Johnson here for Jacksonville, pair him up with Tyson Campbell, give him 2 stud bookend cornerbacks for their new regime and coaching staff. Will Johnson, pick 5, going to the Jacksonville Jaguars, which leaves what's going to be a new-look Raiders staff who got rid of Telesco, Antonio Pearce, who should have had the job in the first damn place. He's gone, and Tom Brady seems like he's pulling a lot of shots behind the scenes. What do the Raiders do? What do the Raiders do? There are still people, Thor Nystrom, who think that Jalen Milroe should be a top 10 pick. There's still people out there that still are putting Jalen Milroe to the Raiders at 6. Where are you going? Where are you going?
You're talking to one of them.
Are you going to do it? Don't think. Thor, I came to you a week early. I know who you like. I read your incredible content. Are you going to do it?
I'm going to do it, Ray. I'm going to do it.
Hell no, Thor. Right here.
Ray, I have to do it. The Raiders' last class, they loved Jaden Daniels. The class before that, they loved Anthony Richardson. They're going to love Jalen Milroe. And Ray, even if you and I disagree that he's not worth this pick, because we agree on that, Jalen Milroe is getting crazy overdrafted. The NFL overdrafts this guy every single year. He is our class's Anthony Richardson, only he's more experienced, more accurate, a better thrower, and an analogous runner. They averaged just about the same rushing yards per game there last year in the SEC. I think he's going in the top 10.
Do you think there's a chance? Do you think there's any chance that Jackson Dart, who a lot of people are pumping up right now as well, he overtakes him with a strong pre-draft performance, Senior Bowl, or do you think that that ball of clay who's going to look incredible? I mean, he's going to look the part. Do you think there's any shot that Dart jumps him? And I'm going to lock in this pick of Milroe at 6, but talk about him versus Dart quickly.
Yeah, I don't think Dart does. I think Dart, whereas Milroe, I think he's going to get gassed up during the process. When we're in Mobile later this month and Milroe's down there, people are going to be drooling over him. And then at the Combine, I think he's going to have his Anthony Richardson turn. Whereas I think Dart's going to get nitpicked all process. He had the stats. The athleticism's okay. He's a solid runner, but not anything better than that. He's got a decent arm. But the offense that he runs cleaves the field in half. And this was sort of the issue with evaluating a guy like Matt Corral, or different system. Corral played with Longo, but it was the same kind of a thing with the simplistic pre-snap reads. I think Dart's going to get nitpicked. For me, Dart's more late day 2, early day 3. I think the one thing that could affect Jalen Milroe is what I perceive to be a stranglehold on QB3 right now. It would be if Allar changed his mind, right? And Allar, he could. It's not the deadline yet. He says he's going back to school. Nussmeier would have been the other guy I think could have competed here. But down, and I love Nussmeier, but just down the stretch, it wasn't quite as good as I wanted to. I don't know if he would steal it from Milroe. The real race would be Allar against Milroe if Allar declared.
And how much would the Raiders, if they really wanted one of Sanders or Ward, what do you think they would need to do to realistically move up from 6 to jump the Giants and get ahead to pick at 2 to get their choice of Ward or Sanders, if that's really the direction they want to go?
I've thought a lot about this because I badly want the Raiders to hire Deion Sanders and go for this and pony up. How fun would that be? And pony up to try to get Shedeur, right? Whether, if they can get a bead that the first pick is going to be Cam Ward, it would be easier to acquire the second one. The Browns certainly will be listening, like we talked about before. It would have to be a sizable package, of course. You're giving up 6. You're giving up your round 1 pick next year. You're probably giving up your round 2 pick.
2 or 3 at least, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you are really ponying up, but finally you would address that quarterback position. Is the difference between Shedeur Sanders and Jalen Milroe worth a first-round pick and a day 2 pick to you? Certainly Deion would say yes, but I think a lot of other people would say yes as well.
All right, the Jets are on the clock, pick 7, and it looks like they're going to go in a different direction from Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams in that regime. Let's go on the assumption that Drew Allar is available. Let's just go on the assumption of this mock that Drew Allar changes his mind. He has changed his mind. He doesn't want to go back. He knows that Nick Singleton is gone. He knows that there's no more Tyler Warren. He's seen what James Franklin has done with quarterbacks at Penn State. He doesn't want to transfer. He doesn't want to go back. Let's say Allar changes his mind. Jets are picking here at 7, Thor. I'm going to turn it over to you because I am looking at a couple of defensive linemen right here for the Jets. But let's say for the sake of this, it's January, it's early. Allar changes his mind. He's done with James Franklin and Penn State. He declares. Is this a spot where he could potentially go?
So Rodgers has retired and Drew Allar has declared for the NFL draft.
Rodgers ain't there. He's retired. Okay. They cut him. He's not a Jet anymore. Allar declares.
So we know, I think I know that the Jets are not a destination for Sam Darnold. I mean, could you? I don't think that reunion would happen.
No.
And so then you're thinking through the other quarterbacks that they could get. Who else is out there, right? And in this scenario, you're even boxed out at Jalen Milroe. If Allar was, the NFL loves Allar, right? And in some ways you get it. He's huge. The frame's ideal. He has a decent amount of athleticism and the arm is good. And he doesn't really turn the ball over. The issue is we haven't seen him go down the field as much, right? I mean, you get the efficiency, but the offensive systems he's been in, they just don't allow him to hunt down the field. So you have a bit of a black box there. And people that are his defenders, they will say, well, yeah, but Penn State's receivers stink. That's why. And it's the offensive philosophy, and they have a good offensive line, and they have good running backs, and that's just the way that they play winning football. That being said, it is a black box. But I think here, if Allar was available and this is the environment we're in, I think the Jets take Allar.
I did it 2 mocks ago. The same justification. I put Allar to the Jets, and I still think he needs time. I do not think that is the type of quarterback. It's so funny we sit here today, and last year we kind of said this about J.J. McCarthy, right? A lot of people were saying, you don't want him to play early, let Dart. I'm telling you right now, I would throw J.J. McCarthy under center day one for all 32 teams before I put Allar under center to start the season.
For sure.
I think he needs some time to grow, but I'm gonna flip the script for you, Thor. Allar staying at Penn State, so we're not going to put him in the mock. Wow. I truly wanted to talk through that with you because I've done it. And I said this would be a spot where I could see the Jets say, let's reset with Allar. We'll get a bridge quarterback in here, not Darnold, but he's not in this mock. Let's leave him out of the mock for the sake of the college football playoff performance. I don't want the comments going crazy. You've got Carter, you've got Graham, you've got all these players on the board. Where do they go, Thor?
Well, in that case, this one becomes probably our easiest pick so far. This one's Abdul Carter.
Yes, sir.
He's out there, and that kid is a terror. And then you put him across from Will McDonald for the next several years. The Jets are going to have one of the NFL's elite pass rushes. Abdul Carter, like at the beginning of the season, I was, because he just transitioned to the edge, and And he was a really fun off-ball linebacker, but like initially during the season, I'll just put my hand up on this. I thought it was more like kind of cutesy, and then like as we're going on, he's piling up these stats, and then you start watching him and you're like, Jesus Christ. The kid is a Terminator.
Yes.
Like it is really wild. And the pass rushing stuff, you love to see it, and he's relentless. The paths and the relentlessness that he chases down runners is just as impressive, if not more so. And you see that off-ball linebacker thing. There was a play in the game yesterday where he gets off the right tackle and sprints down the line because the run was going outside the tackles the other way to the sideline. Abdul Carter chased this mofo down behind the line of scrimmage from the other side. He wasn't an off-ball linebacker. He was picking through his teammates, guards, centers, all the way down the train station, through the stops, and then terrorizes us. He just blasts this running back on the outside. Abdul Carter, absolute stud. This would be a quick one if Drew Allar's not on the board.
That is it. I am with you in the same type of relentlessness you're talking about. There was a play versus USC. I watch my Trojans painfully every single week.
Right on, baby.
Woody Marks reverses field, and here comes 11. I mean, he had to have covered 45 yards of ground, and he didn't even make the tackle, but he was there in case somebody didn't make the tackle. He's a freak. Okay, at pick 8, Carolina Panthers are on the clock. For me personally, one of the best storylines of the 2024 NFL season was Bryce Young's maturation throughout being benched and just how damn good he looked navigating the pocket at the end of the season. And his best wide receiver is 52-year-old Adam Thielen, who looked head and shoulders better than everybody out there, who I'm not disrespecting Adam Thielen because I think he can still play and help that team. Where do they go here? You got some good players on the board. We know they have to upgrade their weaponry for Bryce Young. He is the quarterback of the future. What are you doing if you're running this team?
Well, first, Ray, I have to tell you this anecdote because you'll get a kick out of it because you know all the players involved. Last spring, not last spring, the spring before, D-Bro and I were arguing every single day about QB1, and D-Bro was CJ Stroud, I was Bryce Young. So their rookie seasons, you can imagine how much crap D-Bro gave to me on the group thread. It was relentless. It was every single week. And then the beginning, the same thing. But all of a sudden, after the benching of Bryce Young and then coming back, Bryce and then CJ Stroud has gone into the tank, has gone the opposite direction. Let's just say the last couple of weeks, I've had quite a bit of fun of sending the text to the group thread of like, D-Bro, no one judges you for the miss that you had in that draft. Like, everybody makes mistakes. Like, it's no problem you preferred CJ Stroud. It's just kind of funny the way that those things happen. But I totally agree with you, Ray. Now it's almost like Carolina found money. The Bryce Young from Alabama they thought they were drafting, it looks like he's back. Let's get him a weapon, Ray. We have the tiny quarterback, the little swashbuckler. He loves to scramble around, extend the plays, likes to throw the ball up. Let's get him his skinnier Mike Evans. Let's bring Tetairoa McMillan to Carolina. Ooh. You get Tetairoa McMillan, you put him in the receiving corps with Xavier Legette, Jalen Coker. You can say goodbye to 42-year-old Adam Thielen. He can come back here to the Twin Cities if he wants to be a slot receiver next year. But Carolina now has one of the best young receiving corps in the NFL.
I love it. And what you just said about Tet's size at 6'4", 6'5", get Bryce a big target. And Bryce is an accurate quarterback. I love this with Dave Canales. They need an outside body like Tet, and Tet is the top wide receiver in this class. You put him out there with Legette, Jalen Coker, JT Sanders at tight end. I like what Carolina's building. Saints are on the clock at pick 9, and Thor, I don't know what the hell they're going to do. I don't know who's taking the job. I guess Aaron Glenn potentially. A lot of need, positions of need, not going to be a quarterback here. What are we taking, BPA, or do you have something else in mind for New Orleans?
Well, I have two bits of bad news and one piece of good news for you, Ray, regarding the Saints. The first piece of bad news is you have holes everywhere on the roster. The second piece of bad news is your projected cap space this offseason is minus $78.4 million. The good news is you still have an NFL franchise. And that's about all I got for you. This pick here, you can go any direction because, again, you're not going to be signing anyone in free agency, and you have holes everywhere. So you don't. I mean, I guess it's a luxury, right? You're not boxed in anywhere. For me, I'm curious where you go with this one, Ray, because you could literally go anywhere. We gave the other Michigan guy to Jacksonville earlier with Will Johnson, which means Mason Graham is still out here, right? That might be the direction I go just on BPA for New Orleans. You could also go edge. You could go offensive line. I mean, you could really go any direction here. If I'm them, I'd probably just go BPA here, and I think that would be Graham.
I would say it's got to be BPA. Cam Jordan, this could be an ideal replacement up there. He's going to make that team better, Mason Graham, that is. But like you said, there's so many holes. I want to take a tackle. I want to take a lot of stuff for the Saints. Probably trade back would be a nice move for them. Saying wide receiver, tight end, D-line positions of need. Let's take BPA, because if Mason Graham falls to San Francisco, like, we can't have that. No. If I'm sitting there and I'm the Niners or the Cowboys, I'm like, what do I do to get pick 9 to get Mason Graham? So let's go Mason Graham here to the Saints, and then we'll talk about, and I want to give a lot of people out there some credit who had the stones to say last year that I don't know if Caleb Williams is this generational talent at quarterback. I think some of his struggles this year are definitely justified and warranted. Being sacked 1,000 times doesn't help out. But you look at his numbers versus Stroud. I mean, they're very similar, but it's clear to me that they need some help. They need some help structurally from a coordinator standpoint, somebody to take the reins and control this offense. But what do you do here to make life for your franchise quarterback better?
Yeah, and just a quick word on that, Ray. Like, I think that the whole narrative with Caleb Williams, it was off from the start, and now it's gotten offer because we didn't start in the right place. Like, I think the ceiling with Caleb Williams, probably whatever that is, it wasn't, the sky is the limit. Like some people, he's not Pat Mahomes, right. But it's still a pretty high ceiling. But the struggles in year one were almost to some degree guaranteed, especially when you knew he was going to be with Waldron. But because he never threw the timing anticipatory passes at either Oklahoma or USC, that you have to throw in the NFL to keep people off of, we're going to extend the playground ball. You can't only do that. You have to have it's like in baseball. You have to have more than one pitch if you're going to be, even if you can throw 105 miles an hour, right? You have to have a changeup. You have to have a breaking pitch, etc. And Caleb Williams, he literally never had to throw those other pitches in college. And then he starts out his career with the dopiest play caller that we have in football in Matt Waldron. Fortunately, he's gone. Hopefully the offensive staff there and the play callers get better next year. We'll see who they hire. I'm curious if Caleb himself hires Cliff Kingsbury to be his next head coach, which has been my theory. For this pick, though, you could either go. I know some people would go edge here.
Mm-hmm.
I sort of lean offensive line a little bit for Ray for reasons that Caleb loves to extend so much. You not only need pass protectors, you need guys who pass protect in a different way because you're not just holding for 2.5 seconds, 3 seconds with Caleb Williams. You're going to have to keep your guy out of the backfield sometimes for 6 or 7 seconds. There's one stud left here. I would lean towards Will Campbell here, but I'm curious your thoughts, Ray.
Yeah, I like Campbell. A lot of people say Josh Simmons, had not been for the knee injury, is probably tackle one in this class. I'm hearing a lot of hype about Ariante S. Ursary from Minnesota. That's a big 6'6", 330 pounder. But I think right here, let's just go with the tackle and offensive line prospect who has been in this range for the past couple of years in Will Campbell, whether he kicks in the guard. I know they drafted Darnell Wright a few years ago. Will Campbell, you got to protect Caleb Williams. So quick recap, because as we get through picks 11 through the next few, we'll speed these up a bit. But this draft started off with Shedeur Sanders, not Cam Ward, going number 1 to Tennessee. Giants traded up to get their quarterback in Cam Ward at 2. Travis Hunter goes 3. Kelvin Banks, big tackle out of Texas, at 4. Will Johnson, cornerback out of Michigan, at 5. Jalen Milroe at pick 6. Abdul Carter at 7. Tet McMillan, 8 to Bryce Young in Carolina. Mason Graham falls to 9 with the Saints, and Will Campbell at pick 10 for the Chicago Bears. Up next, everybody's favorite Super Bowl pick coming into the season. It fell off the rails this season, and now there's a lot of talk about, hell, what do you do with Brock Purdy? Brock Purdy's a trailer, not a truck, and now, when all the pieces break down, this is what you get. But the Niners are on the clock right here, and Thor, I'll just tell you, throughout the draft process, I've given them offensive line. I've been told that they will never draft O-line that early. I've given them defensive line. They'll never take D-line that early. These are 49ers fans. I gave them Ashton Jeanty to replace Christian McCaffrey. Oh, hell no, that's definitely not happening. So here on the clock, San Francisco, what are you doing to help out Brock Purdy and this offense here in 25?
This is a tough one. Like in mine, it's my last one. I had them going Will Campbell, but like I said, the Bears, with the offensive line. This is a tough one because we don't know that, first of all, the health of, say, Simmons, right? Like, we don't know what the medicals are yet. Are they going to be fully cleared? What is the timeline on Simmons, right? He got injured the first Oregon game, which was early to mid-October. It was like October, 13th or 12th. It was like somewhere in there. So will he be, can he get back in August? Or are we going to see him at the start of this season? That's an interesting one. Cornerback is another need. The top couple guys are gone, and the dudes where we would be talking about they're also medical guys, right? We assume that Morrison and Ravel are going to fall down the board a bit because they're coming off their season-ending injuries. What do we hear about their medicals? Morrison, he's got the spooky one with the hip. So, that one could go either way. And also it could be seen different. Like, people out there, I don't know if people realize this. It's not like it's one, alpha doctor, and he's the one guy that checks you out. And then he tells the NFL, everyone gathers around him and he's like, okay, this guy here for my evaluation, this is him and he's going to be back this day. No. It's all 32 NFL medical staffs, individual ones, and they give their opinion. So sometimes you can get different stuff on this, and teams will have different opinions on a medical. But for me, the guys that we would be discussing here, Ray, and again, tell me if you're different, but like the pockets of positions I'd be looking at, you're talking about guys coming off of season-ending injuries.
It's tough, man, because I do like Revel out of ECU. I think Ben Morrison, if everything clears out, could be good, but we're talking about here on January 10th. I'm going to make the executive decision, and we're going to take the tackle. We're going to take an offensive lineman. You look at San Francisco, and I think Trent Williams, when he's out there and healthy, he's one of the best in the NFL, but he's no spring chicken either. And I just think that offensively, it starts up front. Brock Purdy, you got to give him time. That's what's required. I think San Francisco, there are quite a few needs, and this is a weird spot for them to be in. So for the sake of this mock, we're going to go Josh Simmons. We're going to say everything's cleared up. He goes to San Francisco. Now, here we are in damn Dallas. I'm just going to tell you, I love Ashton Jeanty. I think Ashton Jeanty would be good in any of these situations. but I also realize that Caleb Johnson is incredible. So is Omarion Hampton and Travion Henderson and RJ Harvey, and the class is loaded. So I just don't, for a team with so many needs like Dallas, like I just would not take Jeanty here. Do you feel any differently?
I go back and forth, but in my mock so far, I have taken the free space with Dallas and Jeanty.
Let's do it.
Okay, let's do it. I mean, it's the same brain trust that took Ezekiel Elliott number 4, and that offense really needs a running back. Ray, to your point, though, I think is the thing that is going to come to the fore in Dallas's war room. Because they have to address that running back room. And I think the discussion, it's not going to be about, is Ashton Jeanty worth this pick? I think they will come to the conclusion that he is. But I think it becomes the three-dimensional chess game of, we are sitting in one of the deepest running back classes that we have seen in the last 10 years at least. And so it's like, could we defer this position to day 2? When there will be an embarrassment of riches? I assume that Caleb Johnson and Omarion Hampton go right away on Friday night, but you're going to see a procession of them picked after that. The 2 Ohio State kids, Singleton, RJ Harvey, like you mentioned. We haven't even gotten to the Devin Neals and the Mononguys and the DJ Giddenses. And I could go, Taj Brooks, go on and on and on.
Samson out of Tennessee.
Yeah, it's stacked. This running back class is stacked. So I think that's what it comes down to. But Jeanty, for me, I put him on par with Bijan as a prospect. I think I even like Jeanty a little bit more. I need to see the testing in order to confirm that, but just them on the field in college. So for me, if I'm Dallas, I think I probably pull the trigger on Jeanty here.
Here's my theory, Thor. I believe that once we get to the combine into February and the masses see how big and fast some of these other backs are, I do still think Jeanty will be the top guy. I'm not saying that, but I think that gap, I think people will be like, you know what? I think we'd be fine with 6'1", 220-pound Caleb Johnson who runs a sub 4.48. I'd be just fine with him in round 2. But for the sake of this, Jeanty is RB1. He's the best back in this class. He goes to Dallas. Quickly, Miami, Tyreek says he's good. Are we going offensive line to help out too, or is there another direction you want to go?
For me, I love the fit of Malaki Starks here. Okay. For Miami, a team that needs secondary help both at cornerback and safety. And at safety, Javon Holland, Jordan Poyer, both impending free agents, makes Starks a really good fit. And that's a guy that moves everywhere. He's your defensive chess piece of this class. 400 snaps as a deep safety this year, 271 as a nickel defender, 215 as an in-the-box out-ball linebacker. They even sent him 10 off the edge, and they put him 10 as a boundary corner. They played him everywhere. Very, very smart player, and I think he's worth this slot.
He's an incredible player, an incredible safety, do-it-all safety, and would be a good fit for this defense. All right, Colts are up at pick 14. I'll just say this about Anthony Richardson. In 2022, when the Philadelphia Eagles were trying to figure out and decide if Jalen Hurts was going to be their long-term quarterback of the future, Shane Steichen had something that Anthony Richardson does not have. If you go back and look at Dallas Goedert's numbers in 2022, believe it was his best statistical season of his career. Jalen Hurts had an easy button option, somebody they can just get the ball to. We don't really have that in Indianapolis right now. And this is a pick and a player that I've been on from day one. I think that Tyler Warren out of Penn State, is this just the fit? Are we going to draft Tyler Warren here?
Ray, this just makes too much damn sense. This has been my pick, and everyone for the Colts, absolutely same page, 1,000%. This is a perfect fit, and this would also, in terms of the value, I put this out on Twitter last night during that Penn State-Notre Dame game, and I'll say it here. Tyler Warren on my big board is going to be ranked stupid high. It's not a question of who's tight end 1 in this class. That's Tyler Warren. But how high does he go on the overall board? He's going to be on my overall board a decent amount ahead of this slot. He's going to be in the top 10. I think Tyler Warren is absolutely amazing. You don't see guys that are that size moving like that. And in college, one big tell that a team has a tight end that is a next level NFL stud is when they start doing the manufactured touches for him. It was a tell with Brock Bowers. They started handing that guy the ball as a freshman. right? The end arounds or shifting them into the backfield, doing stuff with them around the goal line. Usage beyond peppering them with targets, but like usage that was outside the norm for a tight end. That's what we've seen with Tyler Warren. And we saw it yesterday as well, but we've seen it all season as the runner, shifting them around, end arounds, different stuff like this. And then the trick plays, Kotelnicki's had so much fun with them. The one where he was the center and everyone lined up to his right and he did the shotgun snap.
Yes.
And he was the eligible receiver and he just sprinted downfield. He caught a touchdown pass as a friggin' center. Tyler Warren's a stud. This is exactly what Anthony Richardson needs.
And you just brought that up to pain me because that was against my USC Trojans. So neither here nor there, but this is a great fit, and I'm with you. And I believe probably after the combine, even if he's 6'5", 255, after he tests like an athlete, like all Penn State players do, this might be a pipe dream at 14. Like that, he may not last. Okay, Atlanta, they need help off the edge. They've got this new regime. What do they do here at pick 15? PFF says wide receiver, edge, linebacker, and cornerback. Positions of need. What are your thoughts with the Falcons?
Terry Fontenot has eschewed that edge rushing position for so long that now this season the Falcons had one of the most dreadful pass rushes that I think I've ever seen. There has to be a team in the NFL the last 10 years that was as feeble as them, but you'd have to go back a little bit. You got to give them an edge. They have to get heat on the quarterback. And for me with this pick, now this one might be a little bit controversial because I know that this guy's fallen a bit in some people's eyes this year. I gave him James Pearce, who I see a lot of Brian Burns in. Very similar frames, similar athletic profiles, very similar games. It's not a guy that's going to set the edge for you against the run. We know that. But it is a guy who is going to generate heat on the quarterback because he's a filthy athlete with those long levers coming off the edge. I think James Pearce would be a really good fit for Atlanta.
Great pick. I love James Pearce, and he consistently shown an ability to get pressure in the SEC. If you wouldn't have taken him at 15, he was probably going to be my pick here at 16. The Cardinals, just your thoughts on them overall. I know Petzinger is getting some buzz, some head coaching buzz. I don't think that's going to actually happen. Kyler Murray, Marv, that connection didn't yield the type of fruit that we wanted this year. And defensively, while they improved down the stretch, they still have a need. You can't be relying on Zaven Collins to get after the quarterback. Is this a spot where we might see either Nick Scourton, Jalen Walker, or Mykel Williams out of Georgia?
I think probably trench on one side of the ball or the other. Cornerback will be the only one I think that could be in there. But where we're at right now, I think it's probably going to be on the trenches. And just a general comment about Arizona, I think if they have a good offseason here, I think they become really frisky next year. You have $86.9 million in projected salary cap space. So you have the flexibility. You have the picks here. For me, I think I might go. Yeah, Scourton would definitely be, for me, it would probably be between Scourton and then Luther Burden.
Oh, talk about why Burden. Talk about why Burden with McBride, with Harrison, with Michael Wilson. Talk about Burden here. That's an interesting one.
Yeah. Thinking about the Cardinals offense, I like the fit of Burton. You think about like a receiver or a pass catching core, because I want to say receiving and right. Exclude McBride. You think about it like a basketball team, and on a basketball team, you want your rebounding power forward, you want your shooting guard, you want different types there, right? With Marvin Harrison, you have your traditional number one alpha. With McBride, you have your next generation, whether you want to call him H-back, big slow, right. Or whatever, however you want to do that. But like he's the efficiency monster, tight end, H-back move guy. And then you have Michael Wilson is a prototypical possession receiver. Like Michael Wilson's not better than that, but he should be a solid starting NFL possession receiver for a really long time. So you think about those three guys, what would be the perfect complement next to them? Well, it would be a lightning fast slot receiver, wouldn't it? Right? I mean, like the amount of space that is going to be opened up by the big outside guys, and then whatever you do with McBride, you're opening up space on wherever the other dude's going to be on the field. The Cardinals don't currently, and I'm sorry to Greg Dortch and those guys, they don't currently have a slot receiver that can just eat up there. I think that would be a big help for Murray. And then if you did add that, what a filthy pass catching core that would be. So I just think it's such a good compliment to what they have.
We locked it in. As you're talking about it, all I kept thinking about is Greg Dortch getting targeted over the middle of the field. And what if that were Luther Burden there? A little more dynamic, explosive. I like this, Thor. I like this fit, man.
Yeah. Just stylistically, it just makes a lot of sense. And this is a place where Luther Burden could do some real damage next year. And his stock, it's a little bit lower now because there was the weird stuff with Missouri this year. I don't really know what they were doing with their offensive game plan. It seemed like Luther Burden didn't really either. There was a couple games he was kind of pouting on the sideline. I don't know what was going on there, but the kid is fabulously talented. And to fall down here, he was a guy that people thought was going to go in the top 10 over the summer. I do think he's now going to go in the mid-first round. And for Arizona, this would be a really good fit.
All right, we've got Joe Burrow, probably one of the players who put up one of the best seasons on a non-playoff team that we've ever seen. They're going to have to figure out a way to give Ja'Marr Chase the highest paid contract in NFL history at the position. You've got this offense with Chase Brown. I don't know. My personal feeling, Stores, they figure out a way to keep T. Higgins there. In my opinion, you don't switch agents to the same agent that Chase has. I just think they're going to find a way to get it done. That's my personal belief and feeling. They're going to find a way to get it done, and I think the person that's going to be hurt, they're going to have to figure out what to do with Trey Hendrickson. So here for Cincinnati, they fire Lou Anarumo. It feels like Zach Taylor might be on. Once the DC goes, Thor, the next person to go is the damn head coach if they don't get it done. Yep. What's Cincy do here? A lot of people, receiver. Do they go offensive line? Do they divulge in the trenches, or do they go in the back half and go to secondary? What the hell does Cincinnati do right here?
Well, I like how you were kind of setting this up because you think Trey Hendrickson could be the casualty here, yeah?
Yeah, if there were going to be one, I think it would be him, unfortunately.
Man, it's too bad that we don't have a crazy, crazy strong edge, one of those bully types like Trey Hendrickson who's magically fallen down here. Oh, wait, Nick Scourton's still on the board.
Let's do it.
It's Nick Scourton time.
It's Nick Scourton time. Now, there are some people who don't think he's a traditional Micah Parsons level of edge because he's a big boy. But I think he's a powerful, violent edge setter that can play the run and get after the quarterback. I like the pick.
1,000%. And Trey Hendrickson coming out. What were the questions on Trey Hendrickson? Right?
Is he going to be faster? Is he got enough juice to get to the quarterback? He's too big. I'm with you.
If you're enough of a bully, it works. And Scourton by the way, was a bully in the Big Ten as a friggin' 19-year-old. Right? Like, this guy has been doing it now for 3 years at the highest level of college football, and he was a marked man on those Purdue teams. You can't really poo-poo it and be like, oh, that was Purdue. It's like, yeah, he was their only player on the defensive front. He was getting doubled every time. That kid's a bully, and he's got country strength. What a great fit if you do indeed lose Hendrickson.
Love it.
Plugging that kid right into his spot.
Big Ten production, SEC production, I'm good there. All right, Thor, This is going to be our last real full analysis pick because all the other picks after 18, they're still in the playoffs. We got games tonight. We got games tomorrow. All this stuff will shift around. So we'll just kind of talk about some guys and some fits that we like for Houston and below. So Seattle's on the clock at pick 18. And I'll be honest with you, I personally, just watching them, I struggled with what they need. So I went and looked at some of the beat reporters, and here's what I saw. The easiest position to attack for this team is offensive line. They need offensive line help. Abe Lucas has been banged up. But I see a lot of beat reporters out of Seattle saying they need another wide receiver. DK Metcalf potentially on the move. Tyler Lockett on the downswing. You've only got JSN, Noah Fant, AJ Barner. What do you think they do? The receiver conversation was interesting because I'm like, oh, I like another one, but they don't need another Emeka Buka. They've got Jackson Smith and Jigba. So what are your thoughts with Seattle and what they need in order to improve? Fringe playoff team right here.
Yeah, that is I hadn't thought as much about receiver, but when you were laying that out, that actually makes a lot of sense to me. Like, Lockett is done, and then if Metcalf, it would become a desperate need if DK Metcalf's not on that team. You would be down to one receiver. Would kind of be interesting with Egbuka. But yeah,
it's weird, right? Because you're like, okay, he could play. I could see that working with Geno, but are they not the same player? Like, are we not putting two of the same guy in that offense, and how does that work?
Yeah. What's weird about it, right? Because this is actually the first time I'm thinking about this. It actually, that configuration, going back to the basketball team thing, I think that configuration makes more sense, ironically, if you keep DK Metcalf as opposed to the other way around, because Egbuka, the thing I love about his game, it's that craftiness, immediately denoting what kind of coverage it is. If it's zone, it's like he's got that supercomputer of where he just shoots right to, he knows it. It's like, what was that game where you click the things and then it's like the pattern, like you're trying to find the bomb or whatever. It's like he knows kind of the patterns of everything, like based on the first few steps. And so he just goes to the right spot. Like he's really good, the intermediate, the efficiency stuff, but not the most explosive downfield guy. It's why he fits so well with Jeremiah Smith. Obviously, JSN, his slot role, that's what he's doing as well. You would need on the other side the home run hitter who scares people, who's DK Metcalf. If Metcalf left and you took Egbuka, then it'd be like, all right, who's the guy that we can put on the other side that's going to force the defense to put two safeties up to give JSN and Egbuka the room to run? This is probably too complicated for us to actually make that pick. So maybe we go another position. You think offensive line, Ray? Do you think corner?
I honestly don't. The beat reporters were saying, "Oh, I don't know. We can go Thor. We can go corner. We can go O line. I think we're in that range. You've got Amos. You've got Jade Barrett. Just give us a pick.
Another
here,
one
Thor.
would be interior defensive line, which is like
okay.
Right here. There's. So I'll just toss some names at you. We still have the two injured corners out there who would be gone probably by now if they weren't injured, and Revel and Morrison. The interior defensive line, it's a really interesting class, and we are going to have depth throughout the first round there. Walter Nolan is still out there.
Yep.
Derek Harmon, who I believe led the FBS in hurries this year, he is still out there. Kenneth Grant, the big load who plays next to Graham, he's still out there as well. And then if you're looking at the offensive line, you still have Irsay out there from Minnesota. We were talking about him before. You still have Conerly out there too, the former five-star who started at left tackle throughout at Oregon, barely gave up any pressures, the athletic freak. Kid started high school as a friggin' running back, and then he's like a left tackle, five-star recruit a couple years later. Just absolutely insane. Ray, this is probably the toughest one we've had so far. It
is, man. I'm going to pencil us down for O-line. I want to protect Geno. So talk. Yeah. Is it Ursary? Is it Cam Williams? Or is it Conerly? Where do you want to go?
Let's go Conerly here. Okay. Ray, you know, and I know that there's you have the new staff, but in the front office, you have the similarities there going back a little bit. They love athletic offensive linemen. What was it the couple classes ago they took the couple of tackles who both their RASs were like, 9'8" or whatever.
Yep. Cross and Lucas.
That's it. Yeah.
Yep.
Conerly, it'd be like the point in Spider-Man meme with those guys, right? I mean, like, I'm not saying they turn out to be the same player, but you look at Cross's evaluation with Conerly's, there's a lot of similarities there. Again, and not the exact same thing, but Conerly has the 5-star pedigree. The thing you're concerned about there, again, the kid as a high school freshman was a running back. This is not a lie. It's not an exaggeration. So you go from that to all of a sudden he's getting bigger and then he becomes a tackle. The play strength is still the issue, but that kid's crazy athletic. He has awesome feet and you can't get around him in pass protection. He's going to mirror every move that you have because that's the kind of movement skills. Where you have to give it up, it's with the run blocking and the strength. But that's what they've done in the past. They love prospects like this. I think they would go with Conerly.
Houston Texans are on the clock at pick 19, and this is one where Tank Dell's going to miss the season. Stephon Diggs is recovering from Achilles ACL surgery, and C.J. Stroud not having those guys. I mean, it impacted his play. I know a lot of people are saying offensive line, this is where Houston needs to go. I'm looking at Emeka Egbuka's on the board right now. You got Ursary on the board, 6'6", 330 pounds. You can upgrade that offensive front. Cam Williams out of Texas. Do you want to go O-line, or are we attacking receiver, or did you want to go another position, Thor? We'll go quickly through 19 through 32 because all of these teams are still vying for a Super Bowl. They're in the playoffs. So this isn't going to be the order once this weekend is over. So Houston, in your opinion, is O-line or receiver the bigger priority?
I right now with where the board is, I would say either receiver on defense because that with where the offensive line has been picked to this point, I would probably either go Egbuka or Walter Nolan, for the interior defensive line.
Let's give him Egbuka. Let's have some fun. Let's give C.J. Stroud a weapon. And I think this would work well, putting him inside, letting him do some of that slot stuff. We're going to put Egbuka, who I think is going to be a big
We know
riser.
that Stroud likes Egbuka. So.
It's going to be really funny, Thor Nystrom, that over the past 4 years, there were question marks about JSN's athleticism. He squashed those. There were some question marks about Garrett Wilson, what he would do during testing. He squashed those. There are currently question marks about Egbuka. I think he will squash those. The one player we never got numbers for, Marvin Harrison Jr., neither here nor there. Denver Broncos are on the clock, pick 20. Listen, Thor, I was with you. I was one of the people that didn't think there was a chance in hell Bo Nix would be a successful quarterback. Landed in a good spot. Kudos to him. Kudos to Sean Payton for putting a game plan around him that he can execute. What do they do now? How do they continue to put pieces around Bo Nix to keep him on schedule, to make sure that trailer stays intact? Is this a spot where they go for a tight end? They drop Greg Dulcich midseason. Nate Adkins and Adam Troutman ain't doing it. Are they taking a tight end here, or are they going somewhere else?
We sure are. We're getting Bo Nix more weapons, and we're going to go with Colston Loveland, who is a fabulously skilled receiver. You can't do quite as many things with him as you can Tyler Warren, but Tyler Warren is a different thing. Colston Loveland, he's just one of the smoothest receiving tight ends that you'll see. It's what they wanted, like the dream of Greg Dulcich, like the fever dream, what that would have been, and that's what Colston Loveland actually is. There's no downside. He just is that, coming right in.
At pick 21, Tampa Bay's on the clock. Positions of need, according to PFF, edge, linebacker, defensive back. I'm going to make this call. I'm going to make this pick, and this is a player that I love. I would actually be in favor of my Dallas Cowboys picking him 10 spots ago. Jalen Walker out of Georgia.
Nice,
off-ball, outside linebacker, edge. Not as a refined player today, but you talk about freak athleticism, relentless motor, flexibility to get after the pass rusher. We talked about Kelvin Banks at the beginning of the show. Go turn on the tape, Georgia versus Texas. Jalen Walker had 2 sacks and 4 pressures against the aforementioned Kelvin Banks. I like Mykel Williams as well. Baker Mayfield, Liam Cohen said he's coming back. The offense is going to be all right. We're going to go Jalen Walker here for Tampa Bay at pick 21. Pittsburgh's on the clock at pick 22. I think they need a lot. Again, they're in the playoffs, but I don't know, Thor. Quarterback, wide receiver with George Pickens and his up and down nature, defensive back. Cam Hayward's not getting any younger. Where does Pittsburgh go here with this pick at 22?
I think with Egbuka off the board, I don't think it's viable to take a receiver here. There's no one in range. For me, this would be cornerback or interior defensive line based on their needs. And I think you're down to probably 4 guys. It would be Revel, Morrison, and then at the interior defensive line, either Walter Nolan or Harmon. I think, or Kenneth Grant, I suppose. So I'll let you pick of those 5, Ray.
All right, we'll go with Kenneth Grant out of Michigan. We'll let the hips of Ben Morrison sit a little bit longer. And I'm telling you, if Revel's ACL tear is clean, this dude is lengthy, fast. He's a really good cornerback. But we'll go interior defensive line for Pittsburgh at 22. I have mocked Emeka Egbuka to them as well. I think they desperately need another playmaker, but with him off of the board, that kind of screws them right there. Okay, Sean McVay, he's got picks again. He's got his team in the playoffs, tight end, tackle, linebacker, cornerback, positions of need. What do you think the Rams do here at 23?
I would love to get them an offensive lineman. You wonder if, in our mock, we've been aggressive with the offensive lineman. So this one would probably be Irsay if you're going to go there. Or else you would go, I think it would either be that or the corners, the 2 that we just mentioned. So I'm going to toss those 3 names at you, Ray, and let you pick this one again.
We're going O-tackle. Let's get the healthy player. Here at 23, I just don't want to take that risk today. Let's go with Ursary from Minnesota, 6'6", 330. I'll take that. Now, the Packers are on the clock, and Packers fans let me know DB is what they need. I want a damn cornerback. They continue to tell me corner, positions of need, wide receiver, center, edge, and cornerback. We've tossed out those cornerback names. I am going to, because they've got to type, they've got to be 6 foot and taller. There are reports that Jair Alexander may be released. So I'm going to take the one that I believe could have the highest upside if clear, and that's Revel out of East Carolina at pick 24. And I'm going to give you Jim Harbaugh. First of all, round of applause, because I didn't think they'd be in the damn playoffs this quickly. But here they are, smashed with Ladd McConkey. Absolute smash draft pick with Ladd McConkey. Chargers positions of need, running back, wide receiver, tight end, and edge rusher. Where the Chargers go?
This is, I think they would take Kenneth Grant if they could, but he's off the board. Jim Harbaugh loves Kenneth Grant. He recruited him to Ann Arbor. Interior defensive line is a big need. I think I would toss out Walter Nolan here.
Okay. Walter Nolan, I like him. I also like Talik Williams. I just want to throw that out. He played a hell of a game versus Oregon, too. I mean, teach tape all over that. The Commanders are on the clock at pick 26. Are we getting Jaden Daniels help? We're getting Dan Quinn defenders on the defensive side. You got Mykel Williams still available. Got Cam Williams, tackle out of Texas, still available. I believe, we had, what's his name go? The other tackle, Conerly, is gone. I just want to throw it out there. Mike Green, edge rusher out of Marshall, still available. So where do you want to go here for the Commanders and their playoff team and all rookie quarterback Jaden Daniels?
So in my mock, I gave them Derek Harmon from Oregon. Okay. I do think Mike Green would be an option as well. But yeah, you're looking probably in the trenches one way or the other.
All right, let's go interior D-line, and let's get Derek Harmon out of Oregon to solidify that front, that defensive line front. And listen, when you got to deal with Saquon Barkley twice a year, when you're going to have to deal with whatever Dallas brings in there, this is probably a good position of need. Retool that defensive line. Baltimore, man, first team All-Pro for Lamar Jackson. Probably NFL MVP potentially for Lamar Jackson, but Zay Flowers has a knee injury, and they're not really saying what it is. Mark Andrews been incredible down the stretch, but you saw in that big play, doesn't have the juice that he once had. What are we doing with Baltimore? What are we doing with this offense? What are we doing with this defense? What are we doing?
This is a team that will take the discounts on the injured guys and roll the dice a little bit. It's also a team that needs a cornerback. I think it's time to submit the card with Benjamin Morris's name on it.
There we go. And they need cornerback help with the defense that they had this year. Now, I'm giving the floor to you. The Vikings are on the clock at pick 28. Says the team needs are running back, guard, interior D-line, and cornerback. This is just a fan watching, right, Thor? I'm looking at this, and I'm thinking about next year. I'm like, man, Sam Darnold sure is getting pressured a lot. Is there something going on up front? We can make sure McCarthy is protected. I like Aaron Jones, but Cam Akers backing him up. I don't know about that for another year. So where did the Vikings go today with this pick at 28?
They definitely need to fix the interior offensive line. The right guard has been an issue for a long time. That's where I would advocate that they go out and sign a guy like Trey Smith. I don't know if you with the other needs that you have you probably need to get 2 new starters on the interior defensive line to play next to Harrison Phillips. Preferably one of them is a true nose tackle, so Harrison Phillips can play the 3/4 defensive end. You can kick him back out to that. And then you probably need 2 new boundary cornerbacks because Shaq Griffin and Stephon Gilmore, they're probably going to be one and dones there. Hopefully you can bring back Murphy so you don't need 3 of them. But that's where you're sort of sitting. I would advocate the money that they have in free agency, projected 6th most in the NFL, that the guards, the interior offensive line, you're doing that with the free agency, and you can focus on the defense here. So if it's between those positions, the interior defensive line has gotten picked apart a little bit. Okay. I do think that there is a cornerback here that would be a tremendous fit for the Vikings. And that's a guy we're going to get to see this evening, Ray. Jahdae Barron, line up right across from Jeremiah Smith. It's one of the funnest matchups that we are going to get to see the entire college football playoff. I can't wait. I got my popcorn ready for tonight. Here's why I love Jahdae Barron as a fit for Brian Flores. First of all, Vikings have been desperate for a cornerback one for a really long time, and that's what Jahdae Barron would immediately become for them. But the other thing is that kid is incredibly versatile. Prior to this season, he was a nickel defender, and they moved him a bit in that role. This year, they move him out to the boundary. He becomes his game takes the leap. He becomes the cornerback one. They're sicking him on the opposing team's wide receiver one now, but they have still kept the position versatility. At Ray, as you know, you don't see this too often in college. You usually see it with the safeties. We talked about Malaki Starks before. That's where you see the guy move all over the place. Jahdae Barron has been a move piece for Texas as their boundary corner CB1 this year. He played in the, of course, on the boundary. I think it was 70% of the snaps, but they're still shifting him into the nickel over the slot when the matchup is such that they want to do that. He played 5% of his snaps in the box this year. Sometimes they'll even throw him off the edge. They'll even put him back at deep safety. The kid can play everywhere. Brian Flores loves players like that.
I have talked to a couple of people, Jordan Reed being one. He said, I don't care. Put him in the back half of the secondary somewhere. Just let him play back there. Corner, nickel, boundary, X.
Whatever.
He's that. Play him wherever. And I'm really excited to watch him versus Jeremiah Smith tonight. Buffalo's on the clock at pick 29. I've gone back and forth with a lot of Bills fans. They say they're going to be looking to upgrade that defensive line. And this interior D-line class is, it is still, we've got Dayon Walker. We still have Talik Williams. So right here, I am going to select Talik Williams out of the Ohio State. I think that what he put on tape versus Oregon, just go watch that game in his relentless motor. This will help out Buffalo. Philly's on the clock at pick 30. What do the Eagles do?
Where would you lean here as their biggest needs, Ray?
I'm thinking defensive line. Brandon Graham in his injury that was out. I would, for me, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I would go right back to where they consistently go and have found really good players. Like the fact that Mykel Williams is still here on the board.
It would make a lot of sense, wouldn't it?
Him or Mike Green. I mean, what do you want? I want to go edge. I want to get after the quarterback. I want Mykel Williams here.
We got to give him another Georgia defender just for the comedy.
There it is. There it is. Now, our final two picks, we've got the Kansas City Chiefs and the Detroit Lions. Two teams that they're great teams, but they both have needs. And I believe the Detroit Lions, don't they lead the NFL and players on IR right now? Everybody's banged up, and yet they're still balling out. Hutchinson's injury, we know he's going to be back, but I'm not going to wish cast or rush him to being back to Aiden Hutchinson week one. They traded for Z Smith. Arnold's had some issues in the back half. Kirby Joseph, all-pro. Where did Kansas City go? I know I'm talking about Detroit, but where did the Chiefs go right here? Chiefs, I believe they had two all-pro offensive linemen in Joe Thuney and Creed Humphrey. What are we doing for Kansas City, Thor?
For me, Detroit's the easier one because I agree with the way that you're setting that up. I think they're going to go the edge. With Hutchinson coming off the injury, Zadarius Smith is a possible cut. He has a really weird contract. They're going to have to figure that out. And then Marcus Davenport's going to be leaving. I think that one's easy. Kansas City is a little bit more difficult. And I would probably lean with how you were setting that up with offensive line being the top one because you're probably going to lose Trey Smith. But if you don't, it almost assuredly means that you have to release Joe Thuney. You can't pay both them that kind of money. And then their tackles are shaky, right? They've been taking these project guys, and they're not quite there. Wanya Morris and the BYU kid.
Yep.
If I had my druthers, that's probably what I would do. We could go from Arizona, the Jonah kid. I'm not great with his last name. He can play
Savania. Yeah, I know. I'm butchering the last name, but I'm with you.
He can play both guard and tackle. Donovan Jackson is another potential one. Would they do that with a position value thing? But they took Clyde Edwards-Helaire one time. But Donovan Jackson, the stud guard, might be the best guard in the class, but he also has been playing left tackle the last month and a half. And credit to that kid for doing that. Tyler Booker could be another one. Yeah. I don't know if they go Cameron Williams. For me, I think he's probably getting to the second round. But, that's probably one of those guys.
I see Booker mocked in there quite a bit. Big road grading guard. I'm just going to throw this out there before we make the pick. Is there any chance they go offensive skill position? By that, I mean tight end. By that, I mean running back. You don't think so here, Thor?
I don't think so.
Okay. All right. That's all I needed to know. Tyler Booker, we'll lock him in. And the Lions at 32. I know you can't see it. I got to go your pick. So the Lions are up at 32. And we talked about edge. Shamar Stewart, or is there another edge that you like? This Princely kid is getting a lot of hype out of Ole Miss. I have not watched a lot of them. We got Jack Sawyer we'll see tonight. Or are we taking Shamar Stewart out of A&M?
Or are we taking your boy Mike Green?
Or Mike Green. Mike Green. Is Mike Green the play?
Let's do Mike Green.
Let's do Mike Green.
He'll nod to kneecaps, Ray.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's go Mike Green, Detroit. There it is. We're going to grade the draft, talk through it. All right, so here it is, our mock draft. Shedeur Sanders, Cam Ward, Travis Hunter, Kelvin Banks, Will Johnson, the first 5 picks. Jalen Milroe, I trashed him and all the analysts mocking him in round 1. And Thor looked me in the eye and said, you know what, Ray? These guys go early, and I don't disagree. Went 6 overall to the Raiders. Abdul Carter, we did discuss if Drew Allar were in the class, that would be a decent spot for him. We've got Tet McMillan, Mason Graham, and Will Campbell as the top 10. You see the rest of the guys, Josh Simmons, Ashton, Jeanty, Malaki Starks, Tyler Warren to the Colts, James Pearce to the Falcons, Luther Burden, 16 to the Cardinals. We've got Nick Scourton to Cincinnati at 17, Josh Conerly at 18 to the Seahawks. Then the playoff teams, Houston with Emeka Egbuka, the Denver Broncos go Colston Loveland, Tampa Bay Buccaneers go Jalen Walker, Pittsburgh, Kenneth Grant, LA Rams go Ariante Ersery, 24, the Green Bay Packers go Siobhan Revel. 25, Walter Norland, big D tackle out of Ole Miss. 26, big D tackle Derek Harmon out of Oregon to the Commanders. At 27, Ben Morrison, cornerback out of Notre Dame, goes to Baltimore. Jade Barron goes to Thor's Vikings at 28. Talik Williams at 29. Michael Williams at 30. Tyler Booker and Mike Green round out round 1. Thor, overall thoughts about this class? I know there are a lot of people that shit can on this class. It's an awful class, no good. But I'm sitting here in round 1, and I'm thinking these are quality players that are going to help franchises improve in 2025. Your overall thoughts of this early sort of sneak peek of this class as we dive deeper into this process?
Yeah, I kind of like this class, and I think some people are down on it because it's not that sexy quarterback class that we've had in some recent years. It's not the sexy receiver class we've had in recent years. So I think people are a little bit down on it for that reason, but this is an awesome defensive draft. And then we finally have an awesome running back draft. We've had some really stinky running back classes in recent years. We're getting paid back for it this year. So, I mean, they're not the sexiest of positions. So I would understand the public saying that, but I still think that there is a ton of talent in this draft, particularly if you need defense. And certainly this is the year to be shopping for running backs.
Thor, let the people know. Everybody knows you, but those who may not, let them know where to find you, what you're doing, and how to stay connected with you during this draft season.
Yeah, you can find all my draft stuff now at Fantasy Life, which is Matthew Berry's company for people out there that don't know that. Come to fantasylife.com. We'll have all of our stuff there, the big boards, the mock drafts, et cetera, throughout the spring. And then on Twitter, you can find me at ThorKU.
There it is, Thor. Appreciate your time. Everybody, go follow Thor. Check out his content because I promise you he is one of the best in this game. Thank you for being here. Hit that thumbs up button. Like the content. Comment below. Let us know all the picks that you guys hate that will never happen. Let us know which teams will never draft the players that Thor and I talked about, as you all do. We appreciate you being here. Much love and happy drafting.